there, everyone. If I told you you had a story needing to be heard, would you tell it? Better yet, if you knew it could help someone else or yourself, would you share it? Hi, I'm Christine Hotchkiss, and just like our fingerprints, I believe our stories are unique and put us on the path in which we are on. Would you agree, Karista?
Yes, I do.
We just never know, do we?
Never know.
Nothing is guaranteed. Today, my guest is Karista Rose. Thank you, Karista, for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Allowing me into your space.
Absolutely.
We're all very private about our space and our time. Karista has a few unique topics to talk about. The one that we're going to talk about today is adrenal insufficiency. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that was hard for me to say as a little tongue-tied.
It is.
But we're going to go back to when I met you, 2005, and it was in the pageantry. And I understand you're still doing pageantry.
Yes.
Okay, so was that your first pageant?
It was actually my third.
Okay.
I competed in the Miss America organization system when I was 18.
Okay.
And then I took a break, got married, and almost got married, got engaged. Correct that. And decided to go back into competing in pageants because I loved how they gave back to the community and the sisterhood.
So this isn't about pageants, but being that I was in a pageant, mine was because I had no self-esteem. I didn't have any self-esteem because of where I had been in my life and my short stories throughout my life. I didn't feel I was pretty enough, smart enough, you name it. Those things that we women look at ourselves, and there's men that don't feel that way, not pretty part, but the attractive part. I think we all have that as a human need. And so when I went in there, I was learning more about myself. Had no idea what I got myself into. I was scared to talk, me, jabberjaws. And then pictures, forget it. But if you know me, pictures is everything because they capture a memory in time. And so then that brings us forward into where you are today. All these different pageants brought you through different things that you went through. So there was domestic violence, and then you had,
Child abuse.
Child abuse, I remember. We talked about that one a few years ago. And then I didn't know this about you, but you're shy as well, and you don't do the whole public thing, but I'll be danged if I don't see you out there doing everything.
It is a struggle. I have generalized anxiety disorder. So it's a little bit of a challenge. It's mind over matter.
I've followed you for a long time as well, being your friend for all these years. And, we all have a mask on for one reason or another. We have something that's either shameful, embarrassing, or our self-esteem, as I had mentioned about myself a little while ago. You had written your story in a book last year, is that correct?
I've collaborated on a couple of stories.
Give me a couple of those real quick.
The first one was When I Rise, I Thrive, and that's the one that was probably most endearing to me because I discussed coding with my condition of adrenal insufficiency and hypothyroidism. I was called in what is called a rare myxedema coma, and coupled with having no cortisol in my body, which is from adrenal insufficiency.
Okay.
I coded in the hospital, and they had to bring me back.
Okay.
So that was, I shared that story. I felt that it needed to be known that, just because I, coded, had this happen to me, I can still get up and pursue life and find different things to do in life and live life. It's not over.
And no, just because something has happened to you that's different than anyone else doesn't mean you have to live differently or act differently or feel you have to be treated differently. And I think that goes with a lot of different things because my story when I met you. My daughter, Nicole, was still alive because she came to the pageantry.
Beautiful daughter.
Thank you. She was in the pageantry the year after. That was a real fun experience. But we're not going to cry right now because that's easy for me to do. When I met you, and this is no disrespect to anyone that's out there, you and I have talked about this, your body, your frame, and everything is different than it was when you started the pageantry. So moving forward, that has to do with these different things you just shared with me.
Yes.
So put me on the understanding as well as everyone else. What is adrenal insufficiency?
Above your kidneys, you have your two kidneys that sit in your body. Above those two kidneys are two little glands called the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands is basically responsible for your fight or flight response. It's responsible for anything stressful that happens. It releases the chemical cortisol, which helps bring those stressors, those feelings. It helps kind of calm you down. It also gives you the energy. If like you're in a car accident, it gives your body a boost.
Wait a minute. What does a car accident have to do with anything? That's kind of scary.
If you get in a car accident with adrenal insufficiency, you have 30 minutes to get an injection of cortisol, or you can slip into a coma and die.
Now, is that the
Any type of trauma, literally any type of trauma. This is why adrenal insufficiency, it's rare, but it is also very dangerous on a daily basis. Daily basis, and I say daily. I emphasize that. A car accident, getting told that you are grieving or you have a grief, someone to grieve over.
Let me tell you real fast. Grievances is not just the loss of a loved one. Grievances are the loss of anything you're used to having had and no longer have.
Yes.
And that would be people who are, not just me as losing a loved one, it could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be anything. And so when you talk about a grievance, I think it's good that you explain what that is. It's not, like I said, it's not the loss of a loved one. It's the different things you just talked about, a grievance of whatever you're going through. So is that what elevates?
It's what depletes.
Deplete.
So you have to, your body, like a normal person, produces so much cortisol, and you're able to live with that throughout the day, and most people are able to function, not take meds, go out throughout their day. However, in somebody's body like mine, that's not the situation.
Okay.
And I have to take medication, which I joke it's kind of the elixir of life, because it's they've always, I think Ponce de Leon was like looking for the elixir of life back in history, and it's always mentioned, well, there truly is an elixir of life for my condition.
And you had said that, and I thought you were being funny. So now we do have the elixir of life, and I want you to share with us what this elixir is, that people will understand what we're talking about.
This is, I have an absorption issue, so regular regular pills, I have an issue taking, so I actually have to take this liquid. And if I do not take this liquid literally every 24 hours, I can go into a coma. I have to take just two of these little clear, just two of these to keep me alive every 24 hours.
And if you don't, what happens?
I start getting sick. I start getting nauseated. I start the signs of what is called a crisis.
Okay.
And a crisis means, for me, my body kind of is different. It sometimes goes into low blood pressure, sometimes really high blood pressure. Your heart rate slows down. And just a whole bunch of different little things go on, and then you can eventually slip into a coma depending on how far how much trauma you're going through.
Okay.
Literally, if I walk out of here, get in the car, and we get in an accident, I have to have a shot. I forgot to bring my shot bag over here to show you, but it's a shot we have to carry. And it has a needle, it has liquid medicine, and you inject it in your skin.
Okay. So
And I have to carry that with me. The people that I serve with in the community and I volunteer with, they're aware of this as well.
And you're very active in the community, volunteering. You have such a big heart, despite you have these issues that you have to deal with. And and we've talked about this off camera, education is everything. And when we talk about looking at someone thinking, oh, well, why don't they just do this or why don't they do that? And I've seen bullies. We look at kids and we don't want anyone bullying a kid, but what about the bullying that goes on with adults on social media, in real life, or the judgments that we have in our minds about someone just by seeing them, whether they look different by what we think is different, but there's so many people that don't realize that we are so sheltered from what different is. And to move forward, I would like to say, or ask, does this, you keep pushing because it's about you, So does depression come into any of this? Does that play a part in this when you know what you're going through and you've seen the comments people have put on your social site or the things that you've probably heard in the public? Because I've been around, I know. And it breaks my heart that a grown adult would be okay with treating another adult in a way that they would not allow someone to treat a child. I hope that made perfect sense, because we wouldn't want that. And everyone matters, and our feelings matter, and these conditions that I think that take place. If people were a little bit more gentle and knowledge to what someone's going through. We mentioned this before. I talked to a gentleman about someone being homeless. Well, someone said, well, if they just get a job. Well, not everyone's able to get a job, and you and I talked about that. You're not able to do that. And then some people would probably look at you and say, well, she just went on a diet, right?
Oh,
and
yes.
I don't say this at all to hurt anybody, but these are the real things. And what I do is I bring the real lives to people, and I want you to be able to share with people right now how you feel when you're not just going through this, but you're out in the public doing something that's so good to your heart and to the people that are around you, that also the people that don't understand.
Well, to start off with, March 24th is, will have been 7 years since I've been diagnosed with this condition.
Okay.
The standard lifetime projected outcome is 5 to 10. People young women, more so, and I haven't found out why this is the case, but women are more diagnosed than men.
Okay. Probably hormones.
That's probably true.
Especially if you've had children too.
Right, absolutely. So they've, 5 to 10 years, they give us this diagnosis, and several have left this world after I got diagnosed. Okay. So it is very surreal to me. Now, 7 years realizing that I'm hitting my 7-year mark, and I've already almost passed once. That's a miracle in itself.
I love miracles. You're a super fighter.
I feel it's a miracle, and I, keep hope it continues this way, but it is very challenging mentally. You talk about depression. I already suffer from depression. And being 7 years knowing, and it's not to be down or to be negative, but to be more realistic and matter to the fact, yes, each day I can wake up. For the last 7 years, I've woken up knowing that my life could end every single day.
You know what? If everyone lived their life that way, they might be a little happier. But you know me, I'll find the good in it. But if they did, but I'm glad that you have that attitude, because that is an attitude that we should all have. Not if we're diagnosed with something or we've lost a loved one and we don't realize, oh, you know what, life is precious. You dang straight it's precious. It doesn't matter our walk of life. So you had mentioned the passing part. Before I ask my final question, is there any information that people could look up, or a website or information you could provide for people to be a little bit more educated as to the different conditions you just shared with me, that maybe someone else is out there suffering or knows someone else that might be?
You definitely, Adrenal Insufficiency United is a wonderful national worldwide organization that brings awareness to this important cause. We do conferences. We used to do them every year. Now we're doing them every other year, where we bring in doctors to talk about better ways to help with adrenal insufficiency, and help, we're looking at hopefully doing a home test, so that way we know if our cortisol gets low, like a diabetic, we can test and know, hey, we need to take some extra medication, because right now it is literally every day is a gamble. If something happens to me, I have to step back and say, okay, do I need to take more medication or something? Mm-hmm. And so it's every day, it's a gamble for me. And I know you said you brought up the pageants. So yes, my body has changed a lot, and it's not because of what I eat. It's none of that. It's steroids cause weight gain, and pretty much every one of us who has it have developed issues with weight gain. And the beautiful, as you can see here, I have this puffy face. I didn't have that when we first met. It was more structured. So it's been, for me, it's also been learning to re-love my body and accept who I am, and accept who I am for the way I am right now. Right. Where I'm always looking to better myself, but it is hard. I do get bullied
Shame on those people who bully other people with no knowledge of how much it hurts an adult, just as much as it hurts a child.
Trust me, it's a struggle. It is definitely not something I would wish on anybody. And I remember, here in closing that I remember my first doctor, she put her hand on my leg and she cried. And she said, I wouldn't want this on anybody, but you're going to be stuck with this for the rest of your life.
And you have to maintain your life because this is your life and you have a family. So the last question I like asking, and people don't ever think of this one because every day I'm doing what I'm doing with how you know me and the memory of my daughter, Nicole Marie, and my sister, Lisa, that passed away 4 years later unexpectedly from a heart attack in her sleep, nonetheless. You never know how short your life is or someone else around you. So we hear the cliches, but the thing I love to ask is, when your days are done with you being physically here, what do you want to be remembered for? So you can call it a legacy, or you just say, this is what I was and who I am, and I want you to remember me this way.
My hashtag living is giving.
Living is giving.
Being able to, in spite of everything that I'm going through, in spite of everything I struggle, in spite of the aches, the pains, the exhaustions, the frustrations, I was able to give.
And she does, you guys. She does. I'll put information below if anyone wants to contact you. Be nice, no bad stuff. We're here to help and be knowledge, not be ignorant and poke fun on people. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because everyone has a story that we can all learn from one another. At the end of the year, oh my gosh, I should write a book about everyone I sit down with. So thank you, Karista. I really appreciate your friendship very much. So,
Thank you for having me.
And I appreciate your honesty and your transparency, because that is something that's very difficult for people to do. And body image is very important for women, and I know it is for men too, but I think for women we take a little bit more personal because our bodies are constantly changing, and as we grow older, we're not liking some of those things that we're seeing, I know. Okay, well, until next time, actually, I forgot to mention, come back again, because these just keep getting better and better. Until next time, you take care.